David Kirkpatrick is a technology journalist, author, and organizer of technology-oriented conferences. He is the author of The Facebook Effect, the inside story of the company that is connecting the world.
Hey, nobody even heard the Alexa thing. Anyway, hi. That was the Amazon Alexa, which we're going to use here and there throughout the program. I'm David Kirkpatrick. And so I'm just going to start by telling you a few things about why we're doing this conference. So I was walking along the cliffs this morning at dawn, and it was really beautiful, and I had a choice. I could either periscope the whole thing and say, oh, we're having a conference at Half Moon Bay Ritz tonight, so you should know about it. Or I could just enjoy myself. If I was younger, I probably would have done something different, because obviously I just walked around. But so how do we reconcile our understanding of the power of technology with our fundamental values as people and our belief in what it means to be human? That's a question that we're really going to be wrestling with here for the next couple days. We're surrounded by technology, but too often it really deadens and alienates us. And for example, this is probably minor, but when I checked into my room here, there was a video fire on the TV screen in my room. And I'm thinking, is this what we want tech to be, like a simulacrum of the things we used to value? I don't think so. I was at the Boston South Station not long ago, and like every 30 seconds, there's a recorded voice that goes, "Thank you for riding the MBTA." And it's like, okay, well, I was actually there to ride Amtrak, but it's just totally meaningless. And this stuff surrounds us. We're always being thanked by some computer for being the customer of some company, pre-recorded expressions of happiness or such. But then this sort of dehumanized stuff goes all the way to the story about the sexting at the Colorado high school. I don't know how many of you have seen that. The New York Times has been covering it the last couple days. This high school 90 miles south of Denver, where a very large percentage of the student body was sexting each other, of course led by the football team. And there's a statistic in one of the articles that 24% of American teenagers have sent sexual texts, of all American teenagers. And then at the same time, I wonder, are there new comforting realities that only tech could help us express? I don't know the answer. But these questions have to be asked, in my opinion. And that's the kind of question we want to ask here, and we want you to go away asking. And I think the key thing is we're in control as people. We have to remember that we're in control as people. Our judgments matter. We're not passive, and that's no matter whether we're individuals or corporations. We have to make judgments about what is right and what is wrong as we're entering this world of total tech infusion, which is what we are entering. And there are people who absolutely get it, like the people of Romania. I don't know, as author of a book about Facebook, I happen to notice, I don't know how many of you saw it, because I get these updates about Facebook news, but in Romania, they had a small Facebook revolution a week and a half ago, and they got rid of the prime minister because 30 or 40,000 people went into the streets of Bucharest. That stuff is still happening. Another interesting thing that maybe some of you experienced, I have been here, so I didn't. Today, the New York Times distributed Google Cardboard with every single print copy of the paper, and the reason they did it was to accompany a multimedia story on the physical and the emotional experience of refugees. So now you can have a VR experience on the NewYorkTimes.com about what it's like to be a refugee, thanks to Google Cardboard, and I'm sure they'll use that forever after in their content. And it's just amazing the role of social media in this flood of refugees, and the role of Twitter and Facebook in that. I read a piece today about how the government of Norway has been tweeting that they don't want people to come anymore, and that's the way that you communicate with the refugees now, is on Twitter. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm just pointing it out. And I think in our country, we do have a massive failure to take advantage of technology in education and in healthcare. And then we have automation. That's something else where we'll hear quite a bit about off and on throughout the few days, I hope. Certainly James Manyika of McKinsey will talk about that tomorrow, what it's doing to employment and how the nature of work is going to change fundamentally with all this automation. And the conclusion that James has come to, and that's in a new report from McKinsey, is that the future of work is a much more subtle conjunction of computers and people, working together with them, finding ways to have software and AI emphasize the more enjoyable parts of our work, let us get rid of the tedious stuff and do more satisfying things. But you know, there's a lot of questions that I think are relevant. What percentage of profits should a company retain or pay to its executives or shareholders instead of employees at a time when there's more transparency? That's a question that companies are faced with. And another choice that companies are faced with is, what do they do with all the data that they now have access to about their customers and their employees, for that matter? Not only what they can observe on the internet, but also what they can increasingly gather through the Internet of Things, as they can observe what's happening around their customers, which is the kind of thing that Mark Benioff and Adam Bosworth will talk about in our closing session. And I think it's very cool, but it raises massive privacy questions, and companies have to bear the responsibility for making the right decisions, and the right decisions are not clear. And another one similarly is, how far should countries go in surveilling their citizens? And it's a question that many countries are facing. And do we have an obligation to offer everybody a free, open, globally connected internet? Do countries have that obligation? And if you think the answer is yes, you should start wringing your hands, because more and more countries are in some way or another shutting off access to the global internet. And I, along with Nicholas Negroponte, who's been really out there talking about this, very much believe that internet access should be considered a human right. And I think that matters, and I think that we need more discussion of that sort of thing. And yet, you know, so there's a lot of things I worry about. But I wanted to wave around our magazine, which we're very proud of. And one of the reasons I wanted to wave it around at this point in time is to point out that we've got a bunch of articles in here about incredible things that technology can do. We've got this piece about genomic medicine is here, and it works, but we just don't have a system that really can take advantage of it. And we've got a piece here that I wrote about technologized agriculture, which is a topic we'll explore tomorrow, and how much of a difference that could make. And then we have another really interesting one about the blockchain and whether or not that could be the means by which Hernando de Soto's long-standing desire to help poor people around the world get title to the things they own, whether it's their home or their horse or their cows, that problem might finally be remedied with the blockchain, he thinks, which is a pretty amazing idea. So those are fantastic things that technology is going to make possible. And I better wrap it up, or Simone's going to tell me that I'm going way too long. I guess I just had one more point, which was, thankfully, that I think it's astonishing, and it's pertinent to this issue of values, that the presidential candidates in both parties are not talking about any of this. You would not know we are living in a digital society, or an increasingly digital society, if you watched the presidential debates. I think that's a scandal, and I think that's an issue of values, among other things. So anyway, so that's all I wanted to say to get started. And I wanted to bring up my colleague, Josh Campbell, to talk about some other cool stuff.
Thanks, David. So before we start the program, I just wanted to take a quick minute. Ooh, Alexa.
That was John Lennon. I was having it play John Lennon before.
Take a minute to thank our partners. You know, we're lucky enough to work with an amazing group of companies who really support our mission about talking about and elevating the conversation about how technology is impacting business and society. If you ever forget who they are on the back of your program. But to call them out, it's Accenture Digital, Ericsson, Visa, Ford, our knowledge partner McKinsey, Edelman, Magisto, Omidyar Network, and the company that made all of our beautiful seating possible, Steelcase. I also encourage you at this point, if you haven't already, to download our app. It's available both in the Play Store and in the Apple iTunes Store if you search for Techonomy. In that, it gives you access to the participants, the agenda, and there's also a button on there called Fun at TE15. So that'll list a couple of activities that you could do while you're here. The first one is there's a bunch of Ford cars out near the entrance to the facility. If you take a test drive in one of the Ford cars or do a Sync 3 demo, Ford will donate $100 to code.org for everyone who does it. So I encourage everyone during your breaks, during lunch, to take a test drive or do the Ford demo. Additionally, one of our partners, Magisto, is providing everyone with free pro trial. Magisto is an amazing company. Download the app. It'll allow you to actually create video content from Techonomy with our branding to be able to share out to the broader community.
And it edits the video for you.
Yeah, using
AI
machine
technique.
learning, it's actually doing the editing in real time. So we appreciate all of our partner support, all of your support, and I look forward to spending time with you over the next 2 days.
Thank you, Josh, for all your hard work making all that possible, too. So now, Simone Ross, the head of programming for Techonomy, and my co-founder with the company. So come on out, Simone.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, you're in trouble. We're already running late, so I'm going to keep this very,
She's most attuned
very
to that.
short. So I'm just going to tell everyone about a couple of changes to the program first. Dave Morgan has been delayed, so we've replaced him with a different type of Morgan on the incumbent session. Martin Morgan from the Daily Mail is going to take part in that. On Tuesday, there will be no view from the White House. But Jack Hidary will talk about his Moonshot initiative, which I'm pretty sure is not about his run for mayor of New York City, but is actually focused on solving the world's greatest challenges. So that's a couple of key changes to the program. We'll be kicking off very soon with our Fusion session. We've chosen 9 people, given them 90 seconds to talk about sort of what's top of mind, what's keeping them awake at night. And they have to stick to their 90 seconds. So we'll do a little bit of housekeeping from David, and then we'll get started.
Thanks, Simone. So we really believe this is a conversation. That's one of our core approaches to the whole thing we do here. So we're going to have questions throughout, and don't just limit yourself to questions if you're in a panel and they're taking audience response. We like comments as well as questions. We just like conversation. And there are going to be mic handlers in this room. Just raise your hand and they'll find you. One thing you should know is we take everything here, make it on the record. It's live streaming now, so if you don't want it to be known, you shouldn't say it here, but you should say it anyway, in my opinion. We like a lot of Twittering, and the hashtag is Techonomy15. The wireless internet is Ritz-Carlton Conference. The password is Techonomy2015, so you add a 20 to the hashtag without the hashtag. Please silence your cell phones. And did you say what Fusion is, or are you going to do that now? You're going to say what Fusion is, right?
No, we're going to get going.
Oh, did you explain it? Okay. Well, Fusion, we just asked a bunch of people to